that, but I'm here to tell you that there is a wide spectrum of dangerous groups and individuals who have inserted themselves in these national protests across the United States. Law enforcement officers are seeing signs and symbols and leadership of the global anarchy movement in various cities, East Coast and West Coast. And then we're seeing on the far right side evidence of a group, like you said, the Boogaloo Boys that we've talked about, that's emerging on the scene. And in their private chat rooms and Facebook accounts, they're talking about being present, and they believe they should be encouraging a race-based civil war, or at least a civil war of some kind. So they all are coming alongside legitimate, thoughtful protesters trying to exercise First Amendment rights, and they're exploiting them. They're hijacking this. Now, I think it's really important to say something here, Brian. While the president and the attorney general want to point to the far left only and the Antifa movement that opposes President Trump, this is a small group of protesters across the spectrum. They're dangerous, they're violent, they're doing a lot of the property damage, but they are a small group of the protesters. And what I'm fearful of is that the president is essentially pointing to these violent groups and using them as justification for military response, military solution, really to a problem that is a law enforcement problem, a problem that requires a dialogue to diffuse. And instead of a dialogue to diffuse today, we heard about dominating. Who's going to dominate the streets? The governors must dominate their streets. I will send active duty military in to dominate. We need a dialogue to diffuse. This is a law enforcement problem. Law enforcement can do this, should be allowed to fix what they got us into in the sense of police misconduct. We should allow that to happen.
Frank, take on an internet rumor that is gaining currency every day. I saw no fewer than 500 mentions of it today. And that is, in the streets of our cities, New York, LA, etc., pallets of bricks seem to conveniently show up in the path of marauding looters and protesters late at night. People on social media have been posting these pictures, still pictures and video. And the comments go as follows. There was no construction going on in this neighborhood. Where did these come from? And it's that kind of thing. Whether true or not, whether accidental or not, it's the passing along of this that gets a plot line hooked in our consciousness.
Yeah, I'm glad you're phrasing the question as is. We don't know about confirmation of these stories. I've seen them as well. I will tell you that in my experience, I have absolutely seen the global anarchy movement amass weapons, stash communications, rocks and bricks and billiard balls and ball bearings in locations throughout a city that they intend to do damage to. So that is a very real possibility. But it's equally important for us not to get caught up in this sense of we are being attacked. We are under attack. This requires a military solution. So we've got to watch social media. There's reports tonight from NBC News, a well-written piece by an NBC reporter on the fact that groups are pretending to be other groups. And in fact, this article I'm referring to, white nationalist group pretending to be Antifa, had created a social media account and talked about violence just to be able to point to Antifa instead of the true source of it, the white nationalists. So we've all got to watch social media. Let me tell you the third thing, the third groups we should be talking about. Let's talk about foreign adversaries who are going to use social media to incite riots, put people of opposing sides on the streets at the same time. We have to be intelligent consumers more than ever of our social media.
And Frank, a final thought. None of this is fair to the life and the memory of George Floyd, and none of this is fair to the good-hearted people who are on the streets of cities and towns in this country, taking a calculated risk in the middle of a pandemic because they feel the need so strongly.
And the police have the challenge of trying to allow people to legitimately utilize their First Amendment free speech rights while they're challenged to suppress the violence that's occurring. So we can't allow these small groups to hijack what is a national issue that must be dealt with, police misconduct. And we should not allow the White House to hijack this narrative and this issue and take the spotlight off the real problem.
Frank Figliuzzi, our guest again tonight. General McCaffrey before that. I can't